Good evening, folks. Today we have a question from Frank. Frank wants to know, my wife is nagging me, telling me that I need to cut the alcohol down even after my workout. I'm working out though. I'm burning the calories and being healthy. I should be able to treat myself for this. We want to know your take. Well, Frank, I don't know how long you've been married, but clearly you have not learned that the woman is always right. Always. But she is actually right in this case. First off, Frank, I'd like to go back to where you said, even after my workouts. How much are you drinking before your workouts? Are you coming in drunk? Because that's dangerous. If you wanted to have a drink or two before a resistance training or a sprint training, which is anaerobic exercise, you actually can do that because alcohol only really impacts your aerobic capacity and not your anaerobic capacity. But nobody wants somebody falling around with weights because that's dangerous. If you're looking to do aerobic exercise, I don't suggest this at all because essentially it's keeping you from building up a fuel source to use. Gluconeogenesis is the breakdown of proteins and fats to create glucose for your body to use. A study by Heikkonen and his colleagues in 1998 looked at alcohol ingested before, immediately after, and 13 hours after ergometer exercise to exhaustion in males. And what they found was that those who drank beforehand did not have the typical exercise-induced glucose increase. And with drinking before and after, immediately after, the glucose levels didn't return to normal during that recovery period. They were a little bit lower than controls. Free fatty acids also were found to be lower in people who drank before and immediately after, which means that lipolysis isn't occurring as it normally would. Heikkonen notes in his paper that this decrease in fat oxidation might be due to the metabolic product, the final product in the liver of acetate. And then also for note, which wasn't mentioned in his paper, acetaldehyde, which is a metabolic product of alcohol, will bind to coenzymes, which makes it so that other enzymes can't begin their function or it slows down processes. Essentially, the enzymes catalyze or speed up reactions. So alcoholic metabolic products also can impede other reactions going on in the body, like carb metabolism through thiamine. So let's get into the resistance training now. So Levitt in 2015 and Duplanty in 2017 conducted studies with resistance-trained athletes, both male and female, where they had them perform a resistance exercise and then immediately afterwards drink alcohol at 1.09 grams per kilogram. And both studies measure different things. So Duplanty wound up finding that the mTOR C1 was decreased in the males but not the females, which means that there's a decrease in the muscle anabolic process and the muscle adaptations if you're drinking the alcohol immediately after the exercise. And then in Levitt's study, they looked at the cytokines, the inflammatory markers, and they found that IL-6 was decreased 3 hours afterwards, but not 5 hours afterwards in both males and females. But they do note that 2 other studies found that this could be up to 24 hours after the ingestion of alcohol. So IL-6 is important, interleukin 6, because it's responsible for energy metabolism, it's responsible for fat oxidation and lipolysis, and then it's also involved with reducing inflammatory markers. So having lower IL-6 could potentially impair the fat oxidation, the repair mechanisms, and then allow for the continued inflammation to go on in these muscles. Also for note, alcohol is often, when it's ingested, it typically becomes resynthesized into triglycerides, which are your adipose fat storage. So together with both of these studies, you're getting a decrease in the fat oxidation, you're getting an increase in fat storage because it's alcohol, and you're getting a decrease in the muscle building process if you're drinking immediately after. So I'm not sure what your goals are here, Frank, but if you're drinking immediately after, depending on the amounts, it's probably not going to benefit you. So in a study conducted by Barnes, Mündel, and Stannard that was published in 2008, they went about it a little bit differently. They had resistance-trained males eat a full meal after a resistance training session, and then they ingested 1 gram per kilogram of body weight in alcohol 30 minutes after the exercise program. At 36 hours and 60 hours after exercise, they assessed their strength, both dynamic and static. They found that those who did the alcohol group versus those in the control who drank orange juice showed a decrease in both dynamic and static strength. So essentially they saw an exacerbation of the exercise-induced loss of function that would normally be there, and then they also saw a prolonged recovery period. So the authors proposed that this might be due to the alterations in the immune function with the changes in the damage and repair cycles, which we touched on a little bit earlier, and they didn't specify interleukin-6, but that could be one of the mechanisms. Are you ready for more bad news, Frank? Well, that's it, actually. I do have some good news for you, though, after that reign of terrible "your wife is right" news. Barnes did a review in 2014 and came to the conclusion that if you drink 0.5 grams per kilogram of your body weight worth of alcohol, it might not actually impede your performance too much, as long as you're drinking it after the exercise, not before. And in light of the other information, it's probably best that you drink it a couple hours after. Now, that doesn't mean that it's not going to count against you in the calories, but if you're really aching for some alcohol, maybe just do it in some moderation. So, as a recap, if you're going to drink beforehand, which is not suggested, don't do aerobic exercise because you're not going to have the fuel source. And if you're going to come to the gym and do anaerobic exercise, please don't come drunk because that's dangerous. If you're going to drink afterwards, just recognize that your immune system is probably going to be compromised a little bit, which means that your fat oxidation is not going to be occurring, and the alcohol typically goes to fat anyways. So you're going to gain that fat, you're probably not going to build the muscle that you're looking to, and it's going to increase your recovery period. So take that as you will. You can always revert back to the Barnes 2014 study of 0.5 grams per kilogram of your body weight worth of alcohol. And whatever you tell your wife, I wish you the best of luck. Have a great night.